Just last year, I moved into my own custom built home. We went through that process, and I promise you, I probably lost years off of my life due to the stress of it. I also lost tens of thousands of dollars for a major issue that came up with our builder and having to fire him and go through that whole big ordeal. But I learned a lot with all of that, and I'm going to share all of those things that I learned here with you in this video. As a real estate agent here in Central Texas, I've helped a ton of different people go through the build process on their own, but this was the first time that I actually went through it myself, and especially through a custom build. I've owned spec homes before where builder had already built it, I went and bought it, yada yada yada, did all that stuff, but going through the custom build process is a completely different animal. These 40 things that I'm going to talk about are probably just barely scratching the surface. There's a lot more things that we can talk about, and I'll probably get into in future videos, but this is going to be the main things that you definitely need to know. We're going to go through everything from the design phase all the way to the end of construction, some different things that you can do to make sure that your family enjoys this process and has as little stress and loses as little money as possible. And we're going to go through these as quickly as we can so that we don't, take too much time going through these 40 different items. But if you have any questions whatsoever, be sure to comment down below. I'll help you out. I'm sure that a ton of other people watching this video will help you out, so make sure that you let us know if there's anything else that comes up while you're watching this video. Number one, be ready for a long, stressful process. Number two, make sure that you and your family are on the same page with what exactly you want in the home. Number three, make sure you talk to as many friends, family, relatives, and then talk to real estate professionals that have experience with custom home building. Ask as many questions as you possibly can think of. Ask what they're to just explain the experience to you. Ask them what they went through, what builders they use. Ask anything and everything about this entire process to these guys, especially these real estate professionals. I'm telling you, as somebody that does this myself, I've learned so much from going in and helping other clients as well, and it made our build a lot better, even though there was a ton of other things that we didn't know that we could not have prepared for until we went through it ourselves. There is a lot of things that these real estate professionals can provide you, so it is not a bad idea at all to talk to somebody and get somebody to represent you during the process. That is the thing that people can do during custom home builds, and a lot of people don't realize that. Number four, talk to a construction loan lender first if you can. It is very important to understand what you can actually afford and qualify for before you start going through the design process, picking a builder, and everything like that. That is a really, really important step. Number five, no, you do not need to have 20% down payment saved up. Number six, kind of building on that last one, there are many, many options for financing your custom home build. There is not just a one, size fits all 20% down payment loan option that you can go. You can go through, I've seen some things here in San Antonio, specifically a 5% down VA loan option for custom built homes. There's also using the equity for your land that you own, if you own the land outright, or if you just bought it a while back and you've been paying on it, you have some equity in it, you can use some of that equity to go towards that down payment, because really you just have to have that specific loan to value ratio for the lender, whatever it is, to be able to qualify for the loan and make sure that you can move forward with it and close on it. Number seven, if you do not have land already, find a builder and finalize your plan that you want first before you go out to find the land, because the land can vary depending on what the type of plan is that you need, and some plans will not fit on certain lots. Number eight, interview as many builders as you possibly can, and at a minimum interview 3. Even if you know them personally, it is extremely important to get a feel for prices and what all these builders in your area are actually doing to be competitive and to treat their clients the way they should be. I'll give you a little side note here. That is one of the major things that I learned. I went with a guy that I had a really good sales pitch. I thought I could trust him. He had a ton of good reviews of the people that I talked to actually, and found out down the road, once we were already under contract with him and going through the process, that there was a lot more people that had negative reviews about him. We didn't really interview too many people. We interviewed him and maybe one other one, and that was a huge mistake that cost us a lot of money. Like I said, we ended up having to fire our builder, so this was a huge mistake on our part. Number nine, when you're interviewing the builders, ask what they do not include, not just what they do include, because this can make sure that you are understanding what exactly you're going to have to pay for out of pocket whenever it comes down to your build. Number 10, ask each builder where the majority of their clients usually go over budget or have change orders come up. Number 11, make sure that the builder that you're interviewing is willing to help you pick out your lot, so that you know where the extra costs associated with getting that specific lot will come into play, such as topography, or getting electrical back to it, or water or septic, any of those types of things. Number 12, ask for current and past client references for each of these builders. If they aren't willing to give them to you, then you may want to turn and run the opposite direction as fast as you can. Number 13, with each of these builders, ask if you can see current homes that are under construction with them so you kind of get an idea of the quality. And as you're walking these homes, ask them specifically, face to face, if there's any issues that have come up and how they address those issues. Number 14, if the builder does not have visible reviews online, be very concerned. Number 15, have each builder give you a copy of their contract and their warranties during the interview process so that you can review it and decide if there's anything that you're not comfortable with on there. Number 16, if you are not comfortable with the contract after reading it on your own, it is always a great idea to have an attorney review it and make sure that there's no major issues that they could see coming up in it. Number 17 is don't be afraid to ask for revisions in the contract. Not all builders are going to be comfortable with this, but if it's based off an attorney's recommendation, you can take it to them, see what they say, and just see how they're going to react whenever you do ask for some of these changes like this. I mean, especially at some of the lower price points, they're not really going to be willing to change their contracts, but certain builders will, and the really good ones definitely are open to negotiating and talking about these things. Number 18 is be sincerely excited when you do decide on a builder to go with, and let them know too. They will sincerely appreciate it, and it will help build that rapport to start off this relationship and this long process of building this home. Number 19 is go through the design process with your builder that you have selected, because the design is going to be an area where you could seriously go over budget very quickly if you're not paying attention, and he'll be able to point you in the right direction and tell you which things you would have to more than likely spend more money on if you want them. Number 20 is have a strong list of the things that you must have and the things that are just nice to have before you go through the design process. Number 21 is that understand that going through a full custom design is going to be a lot more expensive in the construction and the design phase, rather than picking a floor plan that is already available from your builder that they've already done in the past, or one that is just kind of a spec home that the designer had online. Number 22 is that in the design process, be sure you're thinking about the overall functionality of the home. Make sure you think about all the things that you don't like in your current home situations or previous home situations. Make sure you have plenty of storage space, and make sure you're thinking down the road too. If you don't have kids and you're going to have kids, make sure you have plenty of bedrooms. If you're thinking that you could have parents move in with you at some point, think about that. If this is going to be a forever 10, 20 year long home for you, all kinds of different things like that. Make sure that you're thinking long term and that the design is timeless. It's not just some trendy, crazy, weird design that everybody likes right now. Think about all of those different things. Number 23, be sure that your builder is willing and available to look over your final design and let you know if there are any issues that they see come up. This is a big thing that cost us a lot of money as well. Our design was a pre-spec'd out design. Our builder did not look over it whenever we sent it over to him. He just said, yeah, it looks great. And there was a ton of issues that he ended up charging us for, literally over $10,000 worth of changes just from flaws in the design that he could have easily caught just by looking through it. That should not be your job as the customer. I mean, in my opinion, that's the builder's responsibility. Big issue on our part. We lost money on it, but it is what it is for us. Hopefully this, you can kind of get ahead of it on the design phase on your end. Once you have your design picked out, it's time to go lot shopping. Make sure you get your builder on the same page with you and your real estate agent. Go look at lots, set a strict budget, knowing what your budget for the home is and what your cost for the home is versus what your total house, build budget is with the lot and the home combined. And make sure that you're looking at all the different things with each lot. Make sure you're looking at any view restrictions for where you would put the house. Make sure you're looking at issues with installing a septic or a well if you have to have that. Any utility locating issues if you're wanting to put a pool, what could come up with that. Driveway, where's your driveway going to be located? Is it going to look okay with the way the house is oriented? And also, where's the lot situated? Is the house going to be facing east, west, south, north? Where do you want that to end up being? And kind of building on that, number 25 is pick your lot orientation carefully. If you're in Texas like I am, and you have a backyard that faces west, in the summers it is absolutely miserable. It gets hot as heck out there, and you really can't even enjoy the outdoor space whenever it's 105 degrees outside on some of those really hot summer days. So make sure that you're thinking of that for whatever you're located at, and you pick the best location for you. I always recommend, especially if it's a hot area like Texas, face that backyard east or northeast. Don't face it south or west because it can get really hot. Number 26, and it is a big one, you should fully expect to go over your initial budget estimate. So have a little bit of wiggle room in there. Number 27 is that understand that the more you change your mind throughout the process, the more it is going to cost you. 28 is once you start the build, let the builder do his job. Do not bug him every day for updates. Do not text him constantly with questions. Let him do his job. Figure out a communication plan up front. Number 29, and probably one of the most important things and one of the hardest tips to follow, is that for the love of your own sanity, do not go to the job site, to the house every single day or every single week. it is going to drive you crazy thinking that nothing is being done. You're never going to get into this house, and it's going to stress you out to no end. One of my biggest issues that I have. Number 30 is that find out if your builder is going to hire a third-party inspector. Most good ones will, to inspect the home throughout the process at each different stage. If you're in the city limits and you got to get permits and things like that, those are already going to be inspected from that, but you need the third-party inspector to just look at the overall construction of the home. If they are not going to provide an inspector for you, and even if they are, honestly, it wouldn't be a bad idea to get your own, because sometimes those inspectors are, favor the builders that they do a lot of work for. Be sure to do this early in the process. That way you can get inspections done before the foundation is poured, whenever the frame goes up, and then at your final inspection. You want to see if all three of those different stages can be covered by this third-party inspector. Number 31 is ask a builder if any materials need to be ordered early with longer lead times. If it's something that they need your payment to be able to order these, if you're willing and your bank's able to give you the funds for those early and ahead of time, you can get way ahead of some of those lead times. One of those big things for us was windows. We had a very long lead time. The windows didn't get ordered in time, and they got pushed back 2 weeks. Not 2 weeks. I'm sorry, 2 months. It was 2 weeks would have been all right. 2 months, and it just drove us crazy because we were just sitting there waiting. When are the windows going to be in? Because nothing else could happen until the windows got in, because the home had to be dried in before you could do anything on the inside. Number 32, and this kind of sounds a little bit counterintuitive, is that you need to take a step back and just enjoy the process. Understand that this is an absolutely awesome experience that you're going through, and you're probably not going to go through this experience very often in your life. Maybe once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times in your life if you're lucky. And really, honestly, if you're not, if you only want to do it one time, then you build the perfect house, and it's great. But just step back, enjoy the process. Try not to stress too much. Just understand that this is a once in a lifetime. This is a very important step for you and your family to do this custom build. Number 33 is understand that issues do come up, and they are not always your builder's fault. Sometimes things just happen, things slip through the crack, and they mess up. The most important thing is to go through that early step of making sure that your builder is trustworthy, that he's going to communicate with you the entire time and let you know when these issues come up, and do not blame him. There are just things that are completely out of their control in a lot of different cases. Number 34 is if you and your family want to leave a lasting imprint on your house, be sure to understand and know whenever your foundation is going to be poured, and tell your builder that you'd like to go so that you can put your handprints on the foundation, maybe on that back porch or that front porch, maybe on the driveway if it comes down to it then. Write your names on it, write the date that you built the house, all those different things. We did it, we loved it, and it's something I look at constantly whenever I'm out on my front porch. Number 35, the actual construction process will go roughly like this in a nutshell. They're gonna have site preparation, they're gonna frame up the foundation, and then rough in your plumbing and electrical. They'll pour the foundation, let it cure for 1 to 2 weeks, and they'll start doing the framing. Once the roof and the walls are framed up, they'll install the roof, then they'll install the sheathing and the house wrap on the outside of the house along with the windows. This gets you to the dry-in section of the house so that the house is completely watertight at this point. Then they'll do the rough end of the electrical, the plumbing, the mechanical. Then they'll also install your sheetrock and your insulation. They'll start doing paint, rock and brick, or siding insulation. Then they'll do the mechanical top out. They'll power up the home, install the garage door, install the interior doors, install the interior trim, install the flooring, counters and cabinets, light fixtures and plumbing fixtures, and then they'll finally do all the little miscellaneous design elements, touch up, and final finish work. Last things that they're going to do are pour the driveway and then install landscape. That should be the very last thing that they do so they don't mess up either one of those things whenever they're doing other construction. Now 36, this kind of goes back to a point we touched on earlier, but if there's any material you're procuring yourself early, like a door that is maybe a family heirloom you're wanting to install, or just anything that you're buying out of pocket, make sure you get that stuff early and keep it in a safe place so that it's ready to go and you're not the one holding up this job. Number 37 is have a party with your family after framing and do a scripture writing on the frames. We did it, we loved it. We put all kinds of scriptures all over our home to bless our home and just give that little extra thing. And if you're not a religious person, you just want to put sayings of good fortune and goodwill on there, completely fine too, but do something like that. Make it personal, make it your home. Another thing that kind of goes back to the communication side of things, number 38 is if you are a control freak like I kind of am and want to be in the know about everything that's going on, set up a bi-weekly meeting with your builder. Talk to them ahead of time, see if it's something you can just get on a phone call with them, talk about progress, he can just update you on things. That way you're not messaging him all the time, and that way you know that on that second week, whenever you have that meeting, you can ask any questions that come up in your mind. You can just make a running list, and it'll keep him completely happy with everything that's going through it because you're not bothering him about everything every 5 seconds. Number 39, understand that once sheetrock is installed, the rest of the project is going to take a very long time. There's not going to be much progress happening, it seems like. The 80-20 rule applies here, in my opinion. The last 20% of the job is going to feel like it's taking 80% of the time. And number 40, the last and most important thing of the entire list is that get everything in writing. Never assume that your builder is going to remember something that you had a conversation about. No handshake deals involved here. If you have a conversation with him, if he says that he's going to pay for something, get him to email it to you. Get him to put it in a document. Get him to put it in a contract ahead of time, especially if it's something before you sign that contract. All of these things is super important. Do not ever assume that they're going to remember something they said something. Do not ever assume that a conversation you had with a different trade was relayed to the builder himself. All these things need to be in writing. Send meeting minutes after these meetings. All kinds of different things that you can do. Make sure that you email correspondence with him constantly, so if any issues ever come up, you can relay back to it. Now, I said it once, guys, and I'll say it again. I highly recommend you get a professional to help you throughout this process. Get a professional real estate agent that is comfortable and used to and understands custom home building in your area, wherever that is. I am a part of a national relocation company that can connect you with somebody like this that has a very, very wide network of people that are very experienced with custom home building. So if you have any questions about it, want to find somebody in your area, reach out. My information is down in that description below. And then if you just have any questions for me directly, you can just text me, email me, whatever, and just ask me if you're not comfortable putting it down in the comments. Otherwise, put it in the comments. Let's have this discussion. Talk about what are the best things that you need to know whenever you're building a custom home, and enjoy the process and enjoy this life-changing moment for you and your family. And if you haven't already, if you're looking at more info on the San Antonio or Central Texas area, or just building houses in general, we put a lot of content like this out. Subscribe to this channel, like this video, comment your questions, comment what you need, and I will see you guys in the next one.